Kicking us off, we've got Moana Pasifika and the Highlanders, again at home in Mount Smart Stadium in Auckland for Moana. New injuries to report. And this one, Lotu Inisi, he came off after the first minute, really the first play of the game. He had a knee injury. He didn't get up in the game last week, but he did actually return about, 20 minutes later and then played the last 20 of the first half, but then didn't come back on the second half. So he came on with a lot of taping, so he must have kind of re-upped a niggle or something to do with.
Was the taping on the inside of his knee? I can't remember where it was.
Yes,
MCL injuries are one of those ones people can tape and play even with a pretty decent MCL injury. So he might be gone for 6 or 8 weeks on the back of that, and they just tried to throw him back out there if they could, but obviously didn't work out. Not sure how they managed that to bring him back out. He must have had a concussion or something at the same time.
That's what I thought at the time. I thought, how has he gone off and come back?
Because 15 minutes for a concussion to do the HIA. So it's possible that they did that and then he was able to come back. But the Highlanders side of thing, you had Borgado, the in-form Argentinian winger, apparently not at training. Don't know what's going on there. Josh Dixon, Josh Temu, Hugh Renton, we mentioned, all pulled late. And Parry Parkinson also limped off at half-time, came back in the second half for 13 minutes, but then couldn't last any longer. So obviously has done something to his ankle, I believe it was. And we also mentioned already Jake T. Hiwi came off with an ankle injury as well. So it's going to be testing their depth there. On the positive side, returning, Moana, we haven't heard anything still about Sekope Kepu, but no one else that we're aware of coming back. And then Highlanders, we're looking at Shannon Frizzell back this week or next. Fabian Holland potentially back this week. I think it was pretty likely as well. And both Andrew McAleod and Reece Marshall both due back from their concussion. We haven't got clarity if they're actually passing their testing at this stage, but the normal stand down at 12 days says that they should both be available.
Yep, for sure. So this one, look, Moana coming off that type of loss last week, 0-59 against the Canes. And certainly noting that the Highlanders just put on 56 points last week against the Drua, they are not going to want a repeat of that. So I think there's some very clear things they need to firm up, which for mine is the scrum. That's the first and foremost thing they have to clear up. So I expect them to roll out their best pack. And I don't know how to shore that up, but they just got absolutely destroyed by the Hurricanes last weweek. They were getting penalised at almost every scrum. I think they managed to get one penalty back, but they were either getting penalised or losing the ball at almost every scrum. So you cannot, if you can't create a platform, you can't win a game. Credit to their lineout's actually pretty good in terms of the set piece. They've got one of the best lineouts actually, and they seem to score all of their tries off lineouts. I think it was something like, 12 or 13 out of the 16 tries they'd scored had been off lineouts. So that's good. But yeah, first and foremost, shore up the scrum. And then secondly, just bring Jimmy back. Tavatafa Nawa, get him on there. I would have the best that they did last year. They had Tavatafa Nawa on the left wing and Tima Fainganuku on the right wing. So I think they need to do both of those. And probably, you're right, bring back Danny Tawala into the 12. They just need that kind of extra playmaking. But
they just need to keep picking the same side, man. They're just so much less cohesive than all the other sides in the comp. And they made some changes, and all of a sudden they didn't know each other and how they defended, and there were holes everywhere. Like, I don't mind Henry Taifu, Anisi, Fine Anisi, all those kind of guys that have been filling in the back line. But like you said, they know what their best team is. They need to keep picking it. It's Arianari, Christian Leilefano, Tawala, and Almore in the centres. I agree with you. Tavatafa Nawai. And what's his name, Fainganuku on the wings. And Havili looks good at fullback. I think he's actually complements the side really well, good kicking game, and organises the team as a second playmaker. So I just think they have to keep rolling that out. And I think that's what they'll go back to. It just kind of has to be. They need to get some consistency. Their pack as well, I just think around their loose forwards, actually their entire fullback, there's just too much chopping and changing. They really need to settle on a side. They haven't had that many injuries, so I don't know why they're doing so much changing.
Yeah, for sure. And then look, apart from that, the only other thing really is the defense. But I think that comes down to, like you said, just the cohesion. It's being in the right place at the right time, not putting yourself in a position to have to make difficult tackles and make difficult choices, right? Just to trust in your defensive line. And then go back to, they had quite a few games last season where to be honest, they just started absolutely, smashing the other team. Just and that really went a long way. So whereas we haven't seen much of that so far, I haven't seen all the big hits. So I want to see some of that this week. I want to see them absolutely get stuck into the Highlanders, and that's what they've got to do to be successful in this game. But yeah, what about the Highlanders? Let's look at them. I mean, they're obviously looking to build from last week.
Yeah, I think the big thing for them is that they all of a sudden just going to be growing in confidence a long, long way. I think De Groot and Ainsley in the front row have been playing very, very well. I think their scrum's been excellent. So yeah, add back in their two top choice hookers, and I think that's going to make a big difference to attacking one of Moana's big weaknesses. And then and on top of that, you have both Michaela Tu'u and Frizzell back training in the training paddock last week or this week. So I think they're around about this week or next. So hopefully those guys are both back, and that's going to shore up the back row for them as well. Perry Parkinson, he would be a big loss, to be honest. So you might see Beckuis back or something like that, get the old elder statesman back in to try and shore up the second row, to try and pinch a few of the Moana lineouts. But they're just going to be physical and confident. And I think just whichever team they can put out there, steered around by Aaron Smith and Mitch Hunt, I think they're going to look pretty strong.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, yeah, they showed last week that, they put out a whole bunch of new players, but with Aaron Smith and Mitch Hunt really firing, and after getting a good platform like from up front, that they were really using all of their opportunities. So, I think they just look to build on last week. I wouldn't expect them to change. I mean, I'd expect them to put back in their first choice players if they're available and not injured, particularly all those players who were pulled last week before the game. But otherwise, I wouldn't expect them to change, very much, and just pretty much replicate last week. I don't think they'll come up with any new fancy plans or anything. So
I think the big thing for them is just going to be what they do at centre. We need some clarity around the guys that were pulled, but I think Gilbert looked really, really good at inside centre, and I think they should give him the opportunity to play there again. He absolutely is their miss to fix it, but the difference between him and Reece Hodge is no matter where you put him, he looks really, really good. So he's been very impressive.
Ouch. Hurtful to Reece Hodge there, but yeah, no, but I back. Fair enough.
Reece Hodge is your perfect 23 man. He's the best at 23, but he's just not the best anywhere else. Gilbert's in sensational form, and they're just going to have to try to piece together what they can for a backline. Conagard and Bashop, I think he's a good man to fill in as well. He's in good form, and when he was confident, and I think he's just probably down on a bit of confidence with him falling down the pecking order at the moment. So I think it'll do him the world of good just to start him with some of those other injuries, particularly maybe to cover Bogardo's injury.
Yep, for sure. All right, how are you tipping this one, Harry?
Well, I like starting with the line. So the line for this one is 15 points favouring Moana. I think it's going to be... I think they'll probably be around their average points leaked, around that 40, 45 points, and I think they've always got some points in them. So I think they'll beat the line. I think it'll be probably 18 to 20 points. I'll go 18 points.
Well, they do always have some points in them, except that they didn't score any last week against the Hurricanes. But,
always except that one.
Sorry,
except that one time. Except that one.
Let you get away with that one. But
yeah.
no, I think the Highlanders, if they could do, I haven't watched the Drua game yet, but if they could do that last week to the Drua, I expect them to be able to do that again to Moana. So I don't see anything majorly changing. So I'm going to say the Highlanders by, I don't know, I'm going to go 30 points. Yeah.
You're making me want to change my tip now.
Yeah, sorry, mate. But look, before that, you can do that. Let's move on.